All right, so today I am so excited to talk more about digital minimalism, and we are also going to talk about communication and social media. So let's get into it. So I have my notes here. So if I look over here, I'm looking at my notes because I read Cal Newport's Digital Minimalism book. I have severe brain fog. And so when I say read, I listened to an audiobook. And when I say listen to an audiobook, I heard some of it. I understood some of it. I took a lot of notes and it took me 10 hours instead of 7. On the last day it was due, I had 2 hours left and I think I burned my brain. So I basically was trying to read as fast as I could, and since that day, it's been a couple weeks, my brain has not recovered. So I will not be reading anymore for a long time, but I'm so excited to talk about what I learned from that book, what I have changed in my life since then with my social media usage and my communication styles. I learned so much and I'm so excited to get into it today. So let's do this. Something that is really interesting is that Cal's book was all about digital minimalism with specifically social media and technology. And when I think of digital minimalism, that's not the first thing that comes to mind actually. I started my digital minimalism journey working on organizing my digital spaces. So making them efficient, getting rid of apps that I don't use. I haven't done a video yet on my computer, but I really organized my digital space like I organize my physical space with keeping minimalism in mind. I don't know why my nose is so red today. Please ignore that. I like starting these videos out with a definition of minimalism, and this one I'm going to do digital minimalism from Cal Newport's book. He says that digital minimalists see new technologies as tools to be used to support things they deeply value, not as sources of value themselves. Digital minimalists are interested in applying new technologies in highly selective and intentional ways to allow for big wins. So if an app or new technology doesn't vastly improve your life, it's just not worth using it. And again, adopting digital minimalism is not a one-time process. It instead requires ongoing adjustments. And I've been on my digital minimalism journey, is this 9 months now, since last summer. And so I'm still not even done. It is constantly, changing, evolving. And so that's something to keep in mind as we talk about digital minimalism today. From his book, there are 3 main principles of digital minimalism. First, clutter is costly. And a lot of these are just summaries of what he said. Principle 2, optimization is important. So how you use technology is incredibly important. And once I go through what I learned from the book today, I'm going to talk about how I have personally changed my technology usage since reading this book. Principle 3, intentionality is satisfying. So commitment to being intentional with engagement brings meaning. I have found that so much just in finishing this book and changing how I use social media. I feel so much more content, happy, less stressed, less anxious, less likely to go for my phone. I'm just not on my phone anymore, and I feel so good. This was a quote I love from the book. So we talked about Thoreau's book Walden Pond. The cost of a thing is what I will call life, which is required to be exchanged for it immediately or in the long run. So paying for a new upgraded phone, or in their case, paying for a new carriage instead of just walking somewhere, and the cost of life it takes to pay off that thing. I think just in general with minimalism, that is such an important thing to keep in mind, not having to always consume the newest clothing trend or buy the newest thing that's really popular. But minimalism does not focus on that at all, and really focuses just on finding meaning with what you already have. So he talked a lot about solitude and solitude deprivation, so a state in which you spend close to 0 time alone with your own thoughts and free from input from other minds. I call this free thinking time. I've talked about this a lot on this channel, but maybe not, and it's full form. And so he really talked about this epidemic of people not taking moments of solitude, and so that solitude deprivation causing a ton of issues in our society. So he said solitude requires you to move past reacting to information created by other people and focus instead on your own thoughts and experiences. I find this to be one of the most important things, that if I'm feeling anxious or I'm having a racing mind or I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, I probably did not take enough solitude time, enough free thinking time is what I call it. He talks about prioritization of communication over reflection, and that becomes a source of serious concern. So when you avoid solitude, you miss out on the positive things it brings you, like ability to clarify hard problems, regulating your emotions, building moral courage, and strengthening relationships. So he said if you suffer from chronic solitude deprivation, the quality of your life actually degrades. So the summary of that is that our social circuits in our mind are not meant to be used constantly. So when we're constantly engaging with social media, that's not good, because we need time to power down and redirect our energy to other important housekeeping tasks in our brain. And so this absence of time taken in solitude leads to brain malfunctions. So instead of these lower quality engagements on social media, he talks about high quality communication. So things like leaving a comment on social media or clicking the like button, that tricks your mind into connection over conversation. He said it's like poison. So his thing is don't leave a comment or a like ever. And he said some relationships will fall out of your social orbit, but they weren't strong to begin with because they were just on social media. And he said, we're not meant to keep in touch with so many people. I think it's 150 relationships that our brains are wired to be able to handle, and nothing beyond that. So he really said that social media is a tool only for low quality relationship nudges. And so thinking about social media in that way, social media has always stressed me out. I just get so much anxiety when someone DMs me. I just feel stressed. I am oh my gosh, I need to think about how to respond. It just became this overwhelming source of stress and anxiety for me. And so it was very validating for him to be just don't really use social media. If you want to use it for very specific times, just don't scroll on social media. And that's something I've thought about a lot. When I would scroll on Instagram through Reels, you are not intentionally consuming things. You are being bombarded by inputs from random things that the algorithm controls. You don't control that. And so something that I'm very intentional with now is to not do that, to go on social media to check something or look something up and then immediately leave instead of scrolling. Or I have favorites where I'll go on social media, look at the favorites. When I've scrolled beyond the favorites in the feed or on the stories, then I will just leave and do other things. But it's very easy to get sucked back in. So that's something I am working on. But for my entertainment consumption, I have decided to just really move over to YouTube. And so I have a watch later playlist, and then I have a podcast to watch later. So I will just go to those playlists because I'm constantly curating them. I get notifications from creators that I love and I'm inspired by, and then I'll add the videos from them that I want to watch to one of those playlists when they come out. But then I'm not scrolling on YouTube trying to decide what to watch and just scrolling in the algorithm. I'm scrolling on a curated playlist for myself. So it's very intentional consumption. He recommends keeping your phone in do not disturb mode by default. And this is something I've done sometimes, but I haven't done consistently. So I don't know if I'm going to do this in the future, but he talks about making text something that you check on a regular schedule, and you're not just letting them come in and interrupt you and distract you whenever they come in. He says not a persistent background source of ongoing chatter. So you can maintain the major advantages of technology while sidestepping its more pernicious effects. And so that was really interesting for me, and it's again changed my consumption to just not really look at it. I keep my phone on silent all the time, and I have a Fitbit, so texts do come through, calls do come through, and I'll get notified even if I'm not in the same room as my phone. But I've started doing that a lot, where I'll just leave my phone and go do something else unless I'm waiting for a call. So something that was really important with this digital minimalism book was he said to replace low quality social media time with high quality leisure time. Cultivating high quality alternatives for the distraction that technology provides is what high quality leisure is. For many people, their compulsive phone use papers over a void created by their lack of a well-developed leisure life. And I have definitely seen this in myself and in just society in general, of people not having hobbies, not having interests that they're exploring, and they just go to social media as a way to not be bored. And so I think that this is something I'm really trying to do. So he talks about pursuit of joyful activities or high quality leisure instead of social media. So for me personally, that is doing watercolors, maybe editing photos. I love editing photos, writing, stuff like that, kind of pursuing stuff that makes me happy. I loved this one quote in the book. It said, leave good evidence of yourself, do good work. And I think that's so cool. In the past, I've done, woodworking, and I've done so many cool arts and crafts activities. And, a lot of that stuff is really tough now because of my health and my chronic fatigue syndrome and my joint pain. but I think it's just finding stuff that works for you. So we talked about creating leisure plans too, and basically scheduling these high quality leisure activities in really helps to make sure that you don't forget to do them. Now we're talking about social media. So he talks about if Facebook started charging you per minute to use their service, how much would you use it? The answer for me is none. I don't like paying for pretty much anything. I also don't have money to pay for anything at this point because my medical expenses are so high and I'm draining my life savings for them. And so I just don't have the money to pay for things. So if Facebook started charging me, I wouldn't use it. So he talks about social media as using social media isn't a casual decision. It's a David and Goliath battle against people who have sunk millions into making you lose that battle. Approaching social media with intentionality is a bold act of resistance. I love this quote so much, and it's a good reminder, right? So he talks about thinking about which apps are profiting from your attention while you're using them and being aware of that. Basically saying that you're being used by these services instead of using them to your own advantage. And that like flipped a switch in my brain, and I was like, okay, I mean, I'm very independent. I don't want to be used by anything or controlled by anything. I feel like I have, control of my own free will, but thinking about it that way, I was like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense how I've gotten sucked into social media, and I want to completely reframe my social media usage. So he talks about the attention resistant movement with social media. Obviously, he said, we've eagerly signed up for what Silicon Valley was selling, but soon realized that in doing so, we were accidentally degrading our humanity. Whew. Which hit so hard. This was a hilarious sentence. So he talked about the attention resistant movement being a loosely organized attention resistant movement made up of individuals who combine high tech tools with disciplined operating procedures to conduct surgical strikes on popular attention economy services, dropping in to extract value and then slipping away before the attention traps set by those companies can spring shut. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like if I want to go check something on social media, or if I feel the urge to check social media, okay, I'm gonna do that, because if you don't do it, then that's all you can think about, right? But I'm gonna be very intentional, look at my favorites, and then when we get beyond those, then I'm just gonna go away. And I think that's really changed my social media usage for sure. So yeah, he talked about you want something of value from their networks, and they want to undermine your autonomy. So to come out on the winning side of this battle, these are just crazy, like antagonistic words, requires both preparation and a ruthless commitment to avoiding exploitation. Thinking about it in that way of our time being exploited also changed it in my mind. So in general, Cal said that like he's terrible about texting and spends long times away from his phone every day. And that made me feel so much better, because I'm just a terrible texter, because texting just stresses me out, and it makes sense that it's like a low quality communication. So the whole summary of the book comes down to this. It's about the quality of your life. It's about cultivating a life worth living in an age of alluring devices. It's not anti-technology. It just rejects how people currently engage with these tools. So it's taking control of our own digital lives, what tools we want to use, for what reasons, and under what condition. And digital minimalism can leverage the latest innovations to your advantage and not take advantage of you. So in general, I'm looking at social media as, and just my phone, as a tool. But all my technology devices, they are tools. Using them for what I want. So I don't have any social media on my main screens on my phone like you saw 2 videos ago, and just use them when I need something from them, and then I go off. Can you not? Just chewing on my hoodie. So just reading this book has changed how I use social media and use my phone. Definitely made me think a lot about my social life and who I'm pouring into and how I'm pouring into them. So those were my biggest takeaways and kind of mindset changes that I've had from reading the book Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and hopefully you've taken away some interesting things from this video. I think that social media is obviously a huge part of our lives, but maybe it's time to change how we use them so that they're not using us. So please comment below if you have any other additional questions about digital minimalism. I'm going to continue doing this series, and I will see you all in the next video, friends.